So, we're broadcasting now.
Yay!
Cheers.
Getting settled.
I am settled.
Getting settled with Drinks with Amy.
Yes.
I'm here. I'm just I'm in the dark right now.
Yeah, I like how you said you're looking for more light, and then you immediately went to a dark, dark place.
This is gonna.
Right?
It'll make sense.
Alright. So I suggest that we kind of maybe mute ourselves when we're not talking.
Yeah, that works. So maybe before we might need to deviate from the script a little bit here, Amy.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just talk a little bit about like the tech stuff, and then kind of go into the what we're doing and why we're doing it and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's that sounds good.
Yeah. So we're going to start. Hey, everyone who's here. Awesome. Glad you're here. I'm Derrick. I'm having drinks with Amy, and most of you know Amy. So we are going to start out. Amy and I are going to talk a little bit about what we're doing here, who we are, and why we're doing this stuff. And we are going to ask that you mute for the beginning, and then we're going to ask you all to chime in towards the end after we kind of get rolling for a little bit. There's going to be plenty of time for people to have audience participation. And if you are watching and you are seeing the broadcast, you can use the hashtag #DrinksWithAmy, and we will be watching that hashtag, and we will be trying to respond to questions and all that good jazz. Did I leave anything out?
I don't think so. I'm just trying to answer some questions here about being able to hear and things like that.
Okay. Can someone not hear us? Because that would be a tragedy.
But it looks like
And you know, I think I kind of expected that this would be kind of a
bumpy.
There'd be a lot of technological challenges for this first one, so I am not even like stressed about that at all right now.
Nope.
And also, red wine helps a lot with the not being stressed about the tech stuff. So
Absolutely.
that is part of what's going on with me. So so I'm drinking red wine, and I'm going to confess that I'm drinking a red wine blend that is from a box. And I am you know, it's the economical thing to do, to drink your wine from a box. So Amy, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a very lovely Barefoot bubbly. It's their Moscato, so it's nice and pink and bubbly.
Nice.
And it's not in a champagne glass, so, you know, my bad. But
That's okay.
it does have a wine twirl in it.
Oh.
So a wine twirl, yes, very fancy.
What does that mean?
A wine twirl is basically a little ice cube that doesn't melt.
Oh, okay.
And it's supposed to extend the chill of your white or sparkling wine for a longer period of time. So,
Excellent.
because, you know, warm bubbly just isn't great.
Yeah. So part of the fun of this is that we also get to educate people about alcoholic beverages. Not that you have to be drinking alcoholic beverages to watch, just that that's the educational part. So should we talk about why we decided to do this?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, awesome. So I was out in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and actually, God, that was about a month ago now. And when I was out there, Amy reached out to me and said, hey, let's get together while you're out here. And so I was really excited to see Amy. We met once at Unco, which we'll talk about at the end. So I was just really glad to have a chance to spend some time with her and talk. And after I left, I posted on my Facebook that, like, man, I wish I could have drinks with Amy all the time. And then we started talking about spiritual direction, and we said, you know what? Let's have drinks on a regular basis, and let's talk about stuff that's interesting to us, and let's invite our friends to it and broadcast it to people. So that's kind of how this came about. Did I screw that up?
No, that's great. Yeah, so I think for me, there's something really sort of special that happens when you're like having a drink with someone and you're just sharing an environment and you're sharing something tasty, whether it's coffee or tea or wine or beer or liquor, whatever it is. And I actually tend to have very like deep, meaningful conversations with people over a cup of something.
Yeah.
So, and I had such a great time with you when you were in town, and then that post to Facebook saying, I wish I could do this all the time. I just sparked this idea, like, well, we could do this all the time,
Yeah.
and other people could join us, and it could be a lot of fun. And so, we'll see what happens. This is an experiment, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. So thank you all for being here. A shout out to everyone at home, to my mom and my dad and my sister. Shout out, like extra credit to my parents who figured out how to hook up their laptop to the TV so they can watch it on TV.
That's pretty awesome.
Big time. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, and so for those of you who are listening at home, you can comment in on the page where you're actually watching the broadcast, or you can tweet to us using the hashtag DrinksWithAmy. And if you have comments or questions as we're going along with things, Derrick is masterfully navigating Twitter to make sure that we are catching all of those questions and comments.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Before we jump into kind of our topic, we should talk a little bit about who we are.
Yeah, like, why are we in this conversation, and why are we having this conversation, and what do we actually know about self-care?
Exactly.
And we'll invite Megan and Steve to kind of say a little bit about who they are and where they are in the conversation as well.
Awesome.
So do you want to go first, Derrick?
Yeah. So I am a recovering pastor and burgeoning spiritual director, and for me, I serve churches that were really challenging churches, and I think that one of the places where I fell short in my pastoral ministry was self-care. And so it's really become a passion for me to not only learn how to better take care of myself and know my own needs, but to really help other folks who are in caring professions really think through the things that they need to take care of themselves and to do what they do well.
Excellent. I am a spiritual director and in San Francisco, California, but I meet with clients all over the country, all over the world via phone and Skype and even in person. And I find that particularly in sort of Western culture, there's just this tendency to ignore or deny our own deeper knowing about what we need to do to take care of ourselves. Mm. And the value in all of that is sustainability. So, burnout is really difficult to recover from. Inevitably, self-neglect accumulates to the point where you're really unhappy or physically ill, or there are larger implications to a pattern of self-neglect over a long period of time. So, I really help people get in touch with their actual direct experience and just accept and acknowledge their limitations and needs and make choices that account for those needs and limitations. So this conversation about self-care is really at the heart of my work as a spiritual director, and it is, I think of self-care as really a way of being, and sort of the question, am I including myself and my own voice in my own life? That's kind of a fundamental question, and the self-care answer to that ideally would be yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're throwing this term around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a good working definition of self-care?
More than a working definition, I feel like I have a question that I can immediately answer.
Okay.
If I ask myself whether or not I'm saying yes to myself, and the answer is yes, then I'm taking care of myself.
Okay.
If I ask myself, if I kind of posit the question, am I included in this conversation? Is my information present? And the answer is no, then I'm kind of off center and off balance, and it's time to come back to what I know to be true.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically noticing and having the good stuff. Noticing and having the good is kind of fundamental to self-care.
Yeah.
And from there, you can kind of create practices around that. So noticing that I feel that yoga is a good long-term choice. I can begin to say, okay, I'll do that twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever. Yeah, that's all part of it.
Yeah.
But I think, this conversation tonight, I think if we finish this conversation with a definition of self-care, we'll be in good shape.
Excellent. That's a good goal. I like it. Yeah,
because it can be mysterious.
Yeah, yeah. And the one article that we posted on the Facebook page really challenged a lot of some of my assumptions about self-care. There was a lot there about what's the difference between self-care and coping, what's the difference between, and then kind of challenges us to get out of the mode of self-care and into more of a mode of community care. And we find communities of people that are helping us to do our self-care really well, which I thought was really interesting. Now there's another article that I was reading and I couldn't find, and then I found again, and I found it just tonight, and so probably no one here has had a chance to read it. But it was from, of all places, it was from Forbes magazine, and it was asking the question, why is it hard for us, why is it so challenging for us to do things that we know are good for us? And that was really kind of what we decided was going to be the heart of tonight's conversation. So, and they gave some kind of very, I don't know, for me, like Forbes magazine-ish answers to that question. So what do you see in your practice or in your own life? Like, what are the obstacles to you doing good self-care?
So many. There's so many. Not only in my own life, but in what I witness in my clients. I think part of it is a question of time. There's what feels good in the moment, and then there's whether or not that's actually a good, wise self-caring choice over time. And just being real about that, like being honest about that. So for instance, it's a night that I usually work out, and I know working out is good for me. Like on a really deep level, I know that over time, working out is a practice of self-care, because ultimately it improves my mood, makes me feel better about my body. You know, I can list all of the really great, wonderful, life-giving things about it. And it's Wednesday night, I'm supposed to work out, and I'm on the couch, and I'm like, you know what? I just don't want to do it.
Mm.
I don't want to, and I don't have the energy, and I'm like tired, and you know, I could list 1,000 reasons why I should just stay on the couch.
Yeah.
Well, short term, this one time, the instant gratification, so to speak, of like watching a good movie instead of going to the gym is fine. Over time, however, if I'm consistently choosing a sedentary thing over a physically active thing, there may be a negative consequence over time. So, you know, one thing is this sort of instant gratification of like, I just want to feel better right now, and the thing that's going to make me feel better right now is this. Mm. And that may or may not actually be good over time. So there's the time question. There's also a question of internal authority and external authority. So an external authority is someone other than me. Mm-hmm. My internal authority is coming only from me. And then there are the voices that are the internalized external authorities. So my doctor's voice in my head saying, yes, you should work out 3 times a week. Or I read this article the other day, and it said that I shouldn't ever drink alcohol. And here I am. You know, so because I know in my own body and in my own experience that a glass of wine is okay for me. I can stop at 1 glass. It doesn't make me too groggy or tired the next day. You know, I know from my experience over time that if I make this decision, if I make this choice consistently over time, it's going to be okay. Even though other voices in my head or in my life are telling me the opposite. Mm. So there's the timeline thing, the short term versus long term. There's internal authority, and then we get to the kind of crux of it all, which is self-worth. Mm. And valuing myself enough to choose according to my highest good. My own self-worth, my own value, really how much love do I have for myself? If I'm really loving myself to the fullest, unconditionally, I'm going to choose the best option, the wisest option that is in the best interest long term, in my best interest long term. And what tends to happen is, you know, the internal and the external are in conflict, and so folks opt for the external because there isn't enough of that internal value and love and support to choose from the internal authority. So I would say those are kind of sort of the top 3 things, and it can be really a challenging process to love and accept and value ourselves, especially because we live in a culture that tells us there's always something new to buy, there's always a better job to have, there's always more money to make, you know, there are always ways to be a better parent, a better student, a better everything. So the pressure to constantly be better is so and different that we're not good enough. That's overwhelming, and it takes a deep, deep self-knowing and a deep divine faith and grounding to recognize, you know what, I have value separate from my paycheck, and I have value separate from what I can buy, or, you know, whether or not I've done what my professor told me to do or my boss told me to do or whatever. That at the end of the day, there is a divinity within me that deserves to be nurtured and cared for. And there are just so many voices in our culture and in our lives that contradict that knowing, that it becomes a challenge to hear that voice, that inner voice that says, I deserve to go to the gym, or I deserve to do whatever that self-care practice is that day.
Yeah.
And all of that may sound very simple, but it is not easy. Because in addition to sort of the cultural pressures and the societal norms and all of that, we also have other people in our lives. There are kids and spouses and congregants and coworkers, and there are all these people around us who have needs. And the less capable they are of fulfilling their own needs, the more they need from the people around them.
Yeah.
Us.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be really tricky to navigate, okay, is this choice that I'm making motivated by this other person's need or my own? Am I sacrificing something here? If I am, let me do that with intention.
Yeah.
So that at least it's an intentional choice and it's not just obligation or, you know, some other kind of icky feeling where it's like, I'm doing this to just shut this person up. Like, you know, if that's not intentional, over time it can kind of wear on you, because nobody likes to just do something, you know, no one likes to be motivated by kind of the squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
You know, right. For a couple days it might be okay, but 6 months down the line, like, that's going to wear. It's going to create some wear and tear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially those of us who are in caring professions, whether that's a pastor or in the medical field. You know, maybe, you know, you have children who are dependent upon you, or an older parent who's dependent upon you. You know, when other people really depend upon you, it can be very, very difficult to choose to take some time for yourself or do what you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sort of the top of what I notice.
Yeah. I think for me, a couple things that you said really resonate. One is, I think, being able to recognize your own worth. I think so often we can look at some friend of ours, some relative of ours, some loved one of ours, and say, you know, with 100% certainty, you know, you really need to do this to take care of yourself. And then when that's coming back to us, we're just not so good at that. And some of that is just that we, you know, and something I know that I've wrestled with historically is just really not seeing my own value enough to really want that for myself, to really love myself enough to say, yeah, Derrick, this would be really good for you if you took care of yourself in this way. But I would say there's another piece of that. I think, and then it ties in a lot with what you were just saying there at the end. I think that because we hear so many other voices of need, and I think particularly those of us who are in helping professions or just naturally empathetic, we hear other people's needs so much louder in our ears than we hear our own. And sometimes to the point where we are actually not aware of our needs. And it's not even that I wouldn't address it, or I, you know, it's not that I wouldn't address something if it was brought to my attention. It's the fact that it's not even on my radar that I have this particular need, and sometimes that goes on so long that it kind of builds up and it comes out in really unhealthy ways. And I think part of what's really helpful, part of what's been helpful in my, you know, in my therapy and my mindfulness practices and my own spiritual direction has been slowing myself down enough to have awareness of my own needs on a day-to-day basis, and really be able to say, okay, where is this coming from? Where are, if I'm acting out in some way, why is it happening like this? Where are these things in my life coming from? Where are, even um, uh, I started having like really severe back pain a few months or some months back, and found out that like I was carrying like anger basically in my back, and it was like knotting up my back. Um, and your body starts to give you signals, and your life just starts to give you signals to your own mental and spiritual health if you're paying attention to it. And when you are in a place where you can slow down enough to do that, it can be a really, really healthy thing for you. So I think it's difficult. I think so much of our culture works against us actually taking care of ourselves, because so much more of what is going on around us is about what we produce, what we make, what our net worth is, what our potential to produce might be, and all of those things are taking from us, and they're not asking us to give anything back, and sometimes they're not leaving the time for us to give anything back, and we're not incentivized to take care of ourselves. There is no incentive for me keeping me healthy. There's so much incentive for me, whether that's a paycheck or just like the gratification that comes from caring for my kids, caring for my partner, caring for my neighbors, my friends. I mean, there's so much more actual reward and incentivization that comes with taking care of others that oftentimes I don't see the benefit of taking care of myself.
And it feels good.
Yeah.
When you help someone and they're like, oh, thank you, and they like give you a pat on the back or they give you a hug or whatever, like that's like instantly, oh, I did a good thing, and it's nice.
Absolutely.
It's not like you eat a good healthy meal and you're like, good job, me.
Nope. No, not me anyway. No.
Megan and Steve, I would love to sort of hear from you about any thoughts that that what we're saying is sparking, anything from your experience that either resonates or contradicts with what we've said, that sort of thing. Feel free to jump in. Tell us who you are, what you're about, and how this relates to you.
I'm Megan. I am drinking ginger ale in a champagne glass.
Awesome.
And I've been sick for the last 2 days, so I really want some ginger ale. And I do web development for churches and ministries. And that means that I sit on my ass a lot. And that is a big, I worked office jobs before, but like when I lived in Seattle, I'd walk to the bus, and I didn't own a car, so I walked or took a bus everywhere. So I was automatically getting, I hate working out, so but I could get exercise that way, and I love walking around the city, like places that you can go. Now I live in the suburbs, and I have a car, and I have a job where I sit on my ass all day at home, in a very comfortable chair, and I don't really want to leave the house if I don't want to, and there's nowhere to walk. Like, you can walk around my neighborhood, but it's not like I'm going anywhere. And that was always the thing when I lived in cities. Going places was huge, and you would see all the things on the way, but I don't have any goals to go to, and with many pets and a husband and a stepchild, the schedule's just different. So like I think with life changes too, sometimes like you've got it kind of figured out, and then things change, and kind of a lot of things change for me all at the same time. when I got married, and that really threw me off because I don't think I had quite figured out my self-care where I was, and then so yeah, I think that schedule like that is huge. Like even though I work at home, like I just have so many responsibilities. I'm like, okay, how do I get all the things done? You know, so yeah, plus take care of myself. So I don't know. But yeah, that schedule thing really, I was like, yes. And I need to figure out a new one, but I don't know, like, yeah, I haven't figured it out yet. So that's me.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, and like feel free to contact me. We can work that out. We can do like a power session where we just like, what's Megan's self-care look like? Steve, how are you? What's going on, man?
I am great.
Hi.
Yeah. Life is good. I mean, you're talking about a lot of crazy, interesting things, and internal authority, self-care, limits, habits, adapting to changes in life. Yeah. Am I on the right page right now?
Yep. How is
Yeah.
it for you? Is this like, oh, yep, I do that, nope, oh, ooh, you know?
The thing I've noticed as the older I get is just learning to adapt gracefully to life's changes, and that kind of go with a kind of ebb and flow with like things that are changing that you thought were absolute or thought were for sure or thought were yeah, that life is always changing, and it just and it's our ability to kind of adapt and roll with those changes. That's just, to me, I mean, self-care is huge for me right now, and so I think like this, I have a La Croix water and I have a wine, which I can't drink. I can't drink the wine because all of a sudden my body is allergic to things with a lot of histamines in it, and it's just like there was like months when I couldn't drink any alcohol or eat a lot of different foods like meats, fresh meats, or any leftover food, or it was just crazy. Um, and but I got like physically sick. I was sick for like months, and it just it wore me out. It wore me out, like physically, emotionally, and but you change and you adapt, and but I think that's is that. Am I here to? Are you here to? Are you here to coach, or am I here to kind of just be vulnerable, or am I here to?
All of the
Yeah, so I think, first it's important for me just to witness your story and the challenge of learning how to be in a new body. What do you do when your body betrays you, so to speak, and all of the things that you relied upon to be fact are no longer true? That's a very difficult negotiation, a very difficult navigation. So, that's where you just take care of yourself the best that you can. And it's really important to stay honest with yourself about that. Like, you know what? I can't drink this glass of wine because I've learned what happens, and it's not, I don't like it, it's not good. At the same time, you have all these other years of experience that are saying the opposite. Right? Like, oh, it's fine if you drink the wine. You've had wine before. It's fine. Well, that was a different time, and there was a different chemistry happening. And now it's like, okay, the choice is to love and accept myself as I am now, and learn what that means now. What are my limits now?
And I would add to that. I think, you've thrown in a really interesting aspect to this idea of self-care, which is that what worked for me a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, in terms of taking care of myself, are not the same things I need for me now. And again, there's an element of awareness there that things are changing, that we're changing, that change is the only constant, and that we kind of have to be listening to our bodies, listening to our spirits, listening to ourselves in really being aware of those changes, and allowing, and I think Amy said it perfectly, being really honest with ourselves about those changes, because some of those changes are terrifying, and we have to be honest about that. And I wanted to. Oh, go ahead.
Like, it goes beyond honesty to love, and this sort of radical acceptance of ourselves. And in the midst of so much uncertainty and insecurity, to let love be there too. To let compassion for yourself be there too. When it's terrifying and it's all stress and anxiety, to notice and acknowledge the stress and anxiety, and then to take that a step further and ask, where is love? And to let the love and compassion come right alongside the fear and anxiety and be there at the same time. So that at the very least there's balance, and a little bit of sanity.
Yeah. I want to make sure that we since Noelle's here, I wanted to make sure that we heard from her, and we've been talking a little bit about the things that get in the way of really doing self-care, doing good self-care. So just kind of curious for you, Noelle, what have you found have been your challenges of doing self-care?
Well, lately I don't feel like I've had many, because I feel like I'm doing what I need to be doing, which started with this year being in Honduras and getting my dive instructor certification, which was something I had to do before I turned 40, and I did that. So there's that. But when I came back, I was just like, I need to get back into working out, because the winter in Seattle has been, it's been a rainy winter, but also it's been like excessively rainy. So I have not been on my bike. I have not been outside. So but I've been doing that, and so I just kind of took myself by storm and went and started working out obsessively, and it's been very good for me because I feel better with it, and I feel like that happens, and I have changed kind of my priority levels just for myself. I mean, Derrick knows me pretty well, and I used to do a lot of cocktail conferences and stuff like that, and I'm not doing that because I need to save my money so I can leave the country in a year and a half, So I've been really conscious of doing what is best for myself. I have not been staying out as late. I've been doing that sort of thing, but it is definitely a change for me. And also the other thing is finding the church community that I want to be a part of, and that's been difficult. Like I said, Derrick knows me, and it's been a struggle in Seattle to find the church community that works for me. But I find pieces here and there, and I still have my pastors all over the country, and Derrick's one of them, even if he doesn't want to acknowledge it in the place where he is right now. But it's true. So, I have people I can reach out to. So there's that. And then my other thing that is a big deal for me is that I get my lashes done, and I get Reiki, and I have waxing done, and those are just, they're for me. They're not for anyone else. They make me feel really good, and they're superficial, and I don't give a fuck if someone doesn't like it. I'm just going to go spend the money on it because I like it. And so that has been a different acknowledgement of, well, I don't have to sacrifice. It's not like I'm going to sacrifice and I'm not going to do that. No, I'm going to make myself feel good in the body that I have. I'm going to work out. I'm going to get my lashes done. And you know what? You want to judge me? Go for it. But this year has been a lot more about doing what feels good for me. And it's not like doing what feels good for me, like doing drugs or whatever. It's just meaning that what makes me feel good in my own skin at 39 years old, and what makes me feel good in my own skin at 39 is not what made me feel good in my own skin at 35. Let me tell you, but it's a huge revelation for me, and actually just talking about it makes me even kind of more conscious of it. So thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking champagne because champagne is delicious, and I drink it all the time.
Yay!
And that's really good. I think it's so easy to think that the little things that we do for ourselves that are strictly just for us, and I really do think that for those of us who are tied into faith communities, we have this extra layer of guilt about doing things that are just for us when we're super aware of the needs of the world, and we're super aware of those who don't have, and we're super aware of all of the things that we should be giving and sacrificing. And I don't want to mean to make light of that, but you can't give what you don't. It sounds so cliche, but you can't give what you don't have. And if you don't have love for yourself, if you don't know how to take care of yourself, your ability to take care of others is greatly hindered and greatly affected. So it's really good to hear you say that, Noelle. Those things that you do for yourself that are just for you, that are those are the things that, like, this is my body. This is the body that I have, and I got to do what I can with it while I can.
Can I say one more? Yeah, go ahead. Forgot. So I'm in a mentoring program, and I have 2 students, and they both are really, really awesome. And it's like I didn't realize how much that was important to me, and how much that fed me. That is, like, one of them's 16, one of them 17, and the group that I'm a part of, we're in Tangerine, and we are the Woo Tangerine Clan learning community. And it's this really, really, really safe space, really comfortable, really wonderful space of a whole bunch of adults of a variety of ages that I didn't realize how much I missed it and how important it was to me because I didn't do it in the fall. And that has been, like, that in terms of me being comfortable in myself and doing the things that I need to do for myself for the past 3 months has been huge. And I didn't realize how much that meant to me and how important it was. And that is another thing of something that I do for me, but it doesn't just feed me because it feeds these 2 young women as well.
That's really cool. That's very cool. Thank you for that.
Wow. So our time went really fast.
Yeah, it did.
Sorry, I joined late.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that, you know, things will speed up as we sort of get into a rhythm around sort of the technology and all these different pieces. But I feel like we should kind of wrap up just to honor people's time. So first, I want to pose the question to sort of the 3 of you who are here, Steve, Megan, Noelle. You know, is there any sort of question or issue that or practice that you're kind of is there like a struggle that Derrick and I can be in support of in the next few minutes and beyond? And if not, that's awesome. That's great. I just wanted to.
You can also tell us offline if.
Yeah.
We're comfortable.
Yes.
Something that I'm trying to figure out how to do is to put like spiritual practices back into my day. Like I feel like I go to bed and I pray, but I would also like to have either, like reading as a practice or something like that. Like, I mean, I read book, like, kind of, I don't want to say that I read fluffy books, but, I'm reading Girl Waits with Gun, or I'm also in the midst of Jim Crow, which is not fluffy at all, but the new Jim Crow. But I'm interested Megan, that but I'm interested in being held accountable with other people to do like a kind of a conversation, or email is fine or whatever, but like for something that is spiritual related. I mean, I have the women's commentary, the book that is the women's commentary or something like that, or like a Rita Nakashima Brock book or something like that. But something that is a spiritual base, and if it's a scripture that we talk about, that's fine. That's something that I'm having a hard time with, is like that, and kind of putting that back in my life.
Mm-hmm. Would it help if you told us each time about what book you're reading?
I mean, I do that. I do that on a Facebook page. It's a secret group page. It's fine. I mean, I'm happy to do it. But I also, like, with a friend of mine, I sent her, what book did I send her most recently?
Yeah, are you talking about kind of like a book club sort of setup, where it's like everybody's reading the same book, or
No,
everybody's reading spiritual books?
Like, I don't know. Probably the Bible, but like if there was something like that, somebody, I feel like this is a nincompoop thing, but if somebody said, we're reading this today, like, so the Goshen College devotions I read every day, and that's fine, but I'm like, do I really need someone to tell me to read the Bible every day? I think
I do.
Well, I think that's like, in seminary, I walked every day because I had partners to do that, like, I like walking, but trust me, walking in Austin in the summer at, 6 in the morning, if it's dark and humid and gross, like, it's horrible unless you have somebody to walk with you that you know is going to be there at 6 in the morning to walk with you, and then you're like, okay, then it's easier to do because you have that accountability. And that's, I'm missing that in lots of ways for me too. And so, because I have to self-motivate. It's terrible. And I'm like, how do I exercise with friends who are somewhere else? Like, how do I take that walk with, because, part of it was we could talk and walk at the same time. I don't run. I hate running. But walking very fast I can do, and I can still talk while I do that. That's great. And like, all those great conversations you would have. And so it's like, you gotta exercise, which also felt good. That's the thing about exercise, of course, is that as much as you don't want to do it, you feel really great after you do it. But it was nice because I did it because of other people, because I knew they were going to be there. So, I think accountability is huge.
Yeah, accountability is huge because, again, at the heart of it, we're very quick to choose something other than our own self-care. And what's that about? Right? So it's like, to me, it's just important to accept, okay, I need support around this in order to do it. Accepting that I need support, and then going out and getting that support. Like, it's pretty basic. But as long as I'm in this cycle of choosing something other than what I really want and need, and then beating myself up about it, well, that's going to make it even harder to choose the self-care thing again the next time.
Yeah.
So
and I think one of the things that we can do, and that we hope to accomplish with this, both in the times that we're meeting, but certainly in between the episodes, is that we can do more of that community care, that we can be for each other, places where ongoing conversations about what we need and what we're what's feeding us, where our gaps are in our own spiritual lives, our own self-care exists in ways that we can help each other. So I do think that that's something that we're hoping to create here, and keep going, and we'll see what develops. But I hope that we can do that for each other. So we should probably wrap up. I wanted to do just a couple quick promotional things for you all who are here and for you all who are watching. So Amy and I met each other at UNCO, and UNCO is a wonderful community of people who are doing, many of whom are doing new and innovative kinds of ministry, many of whom are just looking for places of spiritual healing and renewal and community. So UNCO meets in 2 different spots. We meet in New York and Stony Point. May 16th to 18th is where we're meeting in Stony Point this year, and we meet at San Francisco Theological Seminary, my alma mater, in October, and that's October 24th to 26th. You can go to unco.us and learn more about UNCO, and you can also register there.
Yeah, and obviously I'm a spiritual director. My website is amydianeshoemaker.com. This broadcast is going to be posted to my YouTube channel for future viewing. And, so I just really invite anyone who feels compelled to sign up for a complimentary session with me. It's a 30-minute thing. We'll get you, we'll do some stuff and make you feel better. I don't know. I promise it's actually really cool. It's not a very good sell, but
we'll do some stuff. You'll feel better.
That'll be fine.
That's yeah, right? Yeah.
No, that's good. That's totally good. That's totally legit.
Right? I'm awesome. Just do it.
And I'm also in the place where I'm just beginning to start taking spiritual direction clients. So I don't have a website that's as nice as Amy's yet, but one day I will. When I become a grown-up spiritual director, I will.
But you're Derrick. You're awesome.
What's that?
But you're Derrick. You're awesome, and I love you.
Exactly. I'm glad the champagne is talking for you now. But so if
and then you were doing this awesome study. Tell us about your class.
And I'm going to be. I'm pushing it back just because I want to do it. I want to give it the time that it deserves. But a lot of on my little social network, a lot of conversation was generated by Kendrick Lamar's album "To Pimp a Butterfly," and so I am working on creating a study that people of faith can use to engage this album, this really important album that talks a lot about race and a lot of what's happening in Black America. So that's going to be happening in mid-April. I'm working on it. We'll have more definite dates coming soon, but I'm really excited about that. And yeah.
So that's kind of like an intersection of like faith and pop culture kind of thing?
Yep. That's exactly.
Cool. And yeah. Steve, is there anything you want to say about what you're doing?
I'm almost certified as a life coach right now. I'm also an ordained minister. I'm also a professional painter, a house painter. I own a painting business, so I'm kind of seeing where all of those meet right now, and so the just starting to get into life coaching, and so taking people that can barter or that can that want like super cheap. Want to be my guinea pigs for life coaching and stuff like that. But no, it's just a good place in life to be where I'm exploring some new things that I'm really passionate about and putting some pieces together that have been up in the air for a long time. So
inexpensive, not cheap.
Yes, inexpensive.
Inexpensive. Did I say cheap?
Yes.
That's cheap, but you're not cheap. You're inexpensive.
It's just a really great deal. You can get in on the ground floor.
Exactly.
Never need a cheerleader. I'm here.
Yes. Thank you, Noel.
Yeah, and so Steve, if folks are interested in some guinea pig life coaching, how would they get a hold of you?
My email is sknaylor, sknaylor @gmail.com.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
that's it.
Very good. Well, thank you all for being here. We are going to be back together for Drinks with Amy. When?
April 6th.
April 6th?
Yep.
Yep. All right, so April 6th, we will be back here together. We're kind of doing this dual thing where you can either sign up to be one of potentially 8 people in this discussion with us, and or you can watch the broadcast and simply be a viewer. So, you know, we're open to either sort of part that you want to play.
Yep.
And we are on Facebook as Drinks with Amy, so go to our Facebook page and like us, please, and thank you very much. It's facebook.com/drinkswithamy. Pretty simple. We're on Twitter as @drinkswithamy. And then the YouTube channel is actually Amy Diane Shoemaker is the YouTube channel that this recording will post to. So, did I forget anything, Derrick?
I think you got it all.
Yes. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you all for being with us for our first show and tolerating our tech glitches. We will get smoother as time goes on. But thank you so much for being with us for the first one, our first Drinks with Amy. And we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, and the conversation continues on Twitter and Facebook.
Yep.
So we look forward to seeing you there.
Yep. Thank you. Cheers.
Bye. Jazz figures.